The arrival of the Armada. The stars above Earth shimmered as they always had, but tonight something was different. Hidden within the vastness of space, a massive fleet approached. Hundreds of alien warships, sleek and deadly, moved silently, blocking out sections of the sky like a storm on the horizon. These ships belonged to the Galactic Federation, an ancient alliance of alien species. They had come to put an end to the planet known as Earth. Inside one of these alien ships, Commander Zorvac stood with his arms crossed, looking at the planet before him. "So, this is Earth," he muttered. "The humans have caused too many problems in the galaxy. It's time we end this once and for all." Around him, the control room buzzed with activity, alien officers speaking in low, harsh voices as they prepared for the invasion. Earth's leaders had known this day was coming. For years, humanity had risen to prominence, developing new technologies and expanding their influence in the galaxy. The Galactic Federation didn't like that. They feared what humans could become. And so, the fleet had been dispatched, a show of power, a message to the rest of the galaxy. Defy the Federation, and you will be destroyed. On Earth, the warning systems began to blare. Red lights flashed in command centers around the globe as military leaders and political figures scrambled to respond. General Marcus Reynolds, the head of Earth's defense forces, stared at the holographic display of the alien fleet. His heart sank. The Federation's fleet was larger and more advanced than anything Earth had ever faced. But there was no time for fear now. "Get the champion on the line," General Reynolds ordered, his voice steady despite the chaos around him. The room fell silent as officers carried out his command. Everyone knew what this meant. Earth's champion was their last hope. Meanwhile, in a quiet bunker far beneath the surface of the Earth, the champion prepared in silence. He was not like the rest of Earth's soldiers. He had been trained for situations like this, when all seemed lost and defeat was certain. The champion's identity was known only to a few, but his reputation was legendary. Stories of his past victories were whispered among soldiers and civilians alike. Some called him a myth, a symbol of hope, but he was very real. As he donned his armor, the champion's mind was calm. He had faced impossible odds before, and this time would be no different. The weight of the mission was heavy on his shoulders, but he carried it with the same determination he always had. This was his role, to protect Earth, no matter the cost. Back in space, Commander Zorvac's fleet moved into position. "Begin the bombardment," he commanded, his voice cold and emotionless. His officers carried out the order without hesitation. The first wave of alien missiles launched toward Earth's atmosphere, leaving bright trails of light in the dark sky. It was the beginning of the end, or so the aliens thought. But Earth wasn't defenseless. As the missiles approached, defense grids activated, sending countermeasures to intercept the incoming attack. The sky lit up with explosions as Earth's defenses fought to hold back the alien assault. The ground shook, and buildings trembled, but the people of Earth stood strong, watching the sky with fear and hope. The champion received the call. General Reynolds' voice came through on his communicator, full of urgency but also trust. "The Federation has started their attack. We need you, now more than ever." The champion didn't respond right away. He didn't need to. He knew what was at stake. Wordlessly, he grabbed his weapons, an advanced array of tech built from Earth's finest minds, designed to give him an edge against the superior alien forces. As he stepped into the transport ship that would take him to the front lines, he took one last look at the planet he was sworn to protect. He could see the distant flashes of the ongoing battle in the sky. His people were fighting, but they wouldn't last long against the Federation's full might. He was their only hope now. The transport ship lifted off, and within moments, the champion was in the air, heading straight toward the battlefield. His mind was focused, his body ready. He knew this fight would be unlike any before. The Galactic Federation was powerful, and they had come with the intention of wiping Earth off the map. But the champion was not afraid. He was Earth's sword and shield, and he would face the Armada head-on. As the ship approached the battle zone, the champion closed his eyes for a brief moment, centering himself. The galaxy thought it could crush humanity, but they had underestimated Earth's will to survive. And they had certainly underestimated its champion. The war for Earth had just begun. The first strike. The champion's transport ship soared through the sky, cutting through the atmosphere as it approached the front lines. Far below, the cities of Earth lay still, bracing for the inevitable impact of the alien invasion. The Galactic Federation's fleet loomed in the upper atmosphere, a terrifying display of power and technology that outclassed anything Earth had ever seen. But the champion wasn't concerned about the odds. Inside the ship, the communications line crackled to life. General Reynolds' voice came through, strained but focused. "Champion, the enemy has begun their main assault. We're holding the line for now, but we won't last much longer. You'll need to strike hard and fast." "I know," the champion responded simply. His voice was calm, confident. He had been in situations like this before, facing enemies that outnumbered and outgunned him. But he had always found a way. This time would be no different. The transport ship burst through the clouds, and the full scale of the battle came into view. Alien warships hovered above Earth, raining down energy blasts on the planet's defenses. Earth's response was fierce but clearly overwhelmed. Laser turrets fired back. Interceptors darted through the sky. But the sheer volume of the Federation's forces was staggering. The champion's ship veered toward the heart of the battle. The ship's AI spoke up, cold and clinical. "We are approaching the enemy's forward command vessel. ETA. 2 minutes." "Good," the champion said. "Prepare for deployment." As the ship neared its destination, the champion checked his weapons one last time. His suit, designed by Earth's top engineers, was equipped with advanced shielding, adaptive camouflage, and a powerful exoskeleton that enhanced his speed and strength. In his hands, he carried an energy blade, capable of cutting through the thickest alien armor, and a plasma rifle that had been specially calibrated to pierce the Federation's defenses. This wasn't just a fight for survival. It was a fight for the future of humanity. The transport ship's engines roared as it drew closer to the enemy's flagship, a massive, menacing warship bristling with weapons and shields. The Federation had stationed its command center here, confident that no Earth technology could penetrate their defenses. But the champion wasn't relying on Earth's technology. He was relying on his own skill and the element of surprise. "Deploying now," the AI announced. The back of the transport ship opened, and the champion leaped out, free-falling through the sky toward the alien flagship. His suit activated, stabilizing him as he hurtled toward his target. The ship's surface rushed up to meet him, and at the last moment, he engaged his thrusters, slowing his descent just enough to land silently on the hull. He moved quickly, sprinting across the surface of the ship, his adaptive camouflage making him nearly invisible to the alien sensors. He needed to find a weak point, an access hatch, a vent, anything that would get him inside. The Federation's ships were designed to be impenetrable from the outside, but every fortress had a flaw. It didn't take him long to find one. A small maintenance hatch tucked away near the ship's rear. He approached cautiously, scanning the area for any signs of detection. Nothing. The aliens were too confident. They didn't expect an attack like this. Using a device built into his suit, the champion hacked into the hatch's controls. In seconds, the door slid open, and he slipped inside. The corridor beyond was dimly lit, with the hum of alien machinery all around him. He moved swiftly, navigating through the labyrinth of tunnels and hallways, heading straight for the command center. His mission was clear: take out the ship's command crew, and the Federation's fleet would be thrown into chaos. Without their leader, the invasion would falter. As he moved deeper into the ship, he encountered his first obstacle: a squad of alien soldiers patrolling the halls. They were tall, armored creatures with insect-like features and glowing eyes, armed with advanced plasma rifles. The champion didn't hesitate. He activated his camouflage, and darted forward, his energy blade flashing in the dim light. Before the aliens could react, they were down. The champion moved with precision and efficiency, dispatching them silently, one by one. By the time the last one fell, none of them had even fired a shot. He continued onward, undetected. The ship's command center was just ahead. When he reached the entrance, he paused. Inside, he could hear the voices of the alien officers, barking orders, coordinating the invasion. They were unaware of the threat that was now at their doorstep. The champion's grip tightened on his energy blade. It was time. With a swift motion, he opened the door and burst into the room. The alien officers turned, eyes widening in shock, but they were too slow. The champion moved like a shadow, striking them down before they could even reach for their weapons. The room was filled with the crackle of energy as his blade cut through the air, and in moments, it was over. The command crew was dead. The ship was his. He quickly moved to the control panel, overriding the ship's systems and sending a signal to Earth's forces. "This is the champion," he said into the communicator. "The flagship is neutralized. Begin your counterattack." On Earth, General Reynolds received the message. A slow smile spread across his face. "Copy that, champion," he replied. "Let's show them what Earth is made of." The tide of battle was about to turning the tide. As the champion secured the alien flagship's control room, Earth's defense forces sprang into action. The signal from their champion sparked a wave of renewed hope, and within minutes, Earth's commanders redirected their forces toward the now crippled enemy fleet. From the skies above, the Galactic Armada still seemed unstoppable, but the loss of their command ship had thrown them into disarray. Alien warships began faltering, their coordinated attacks becoming erratic. Earth's defense network, which had been holding on by a thread, seized this moment of confusion. High above the planet, Admiral Carson stood in the central command bunker, watching as the tactical display of the battlefield shifted. His eyes were locked on the holographic projection of the alien fleet. What had once been a solid line of destruction now had cracks running through it. "He did it," Carson muttered under his breath. "The champion did it." Standing beside him, Colonel Singh nodded, her sharp eyes scanning the display. "Now's our chance. We need to press the attack." Carson didn't hesitate. "Send in all available squadrons. Target their destabilized formations. We hit them hard, and we don't let up." Earth's fighter squadrons, already deployed in a desperate defensive posture, now surged forward with renewed strength. Pilots who had been flying for hours without rest suddenly felt like they had fresh fuel in their veins. They roared through the skies, launching precision strikes against the disorganized alien vessels. For the first time since the invasion had begun, Earth was no longer just defending. They were on the offensive. Inside the alien flagship, the champion moved quickly to secure his position. He activated the ship's internal security systems, sealing off key areas to prevent any counterattacks from alien reinforcements. With the command crew dead and the control room under his watch, the ship's crew was in a state of confusion. They had no idea what had just happened. Using the ship's communication array, the champion tapped into the alien fleet's internal channels. He could hear the frantic voices of alien officers as they tried to regroup, shouting in a language he had barely begun to understand. They were scared. They didn't know where the attack had come from. They weren't prepared for this. The champion thought to himself. They thought they were invincible. But even as he secured his position, the champion knew his work wasn't finished. The alien fleet was still vast, and while Earth's forces were pushing back, the fight was far from over. He needed to find a way to cripple the fleet for good. As he scanned the ship's systems, an idea began to form in his mind. The alien flagship was more than just a command vessel. It was the central hub for the fleet's coordination and communication. If he could disrupt that system, the rest of the Armada would fall into complete chaos. He worked quickly, navigating through the ship's interface. His fingers flew across the console as he hacked into the fleet's command network. The alien technology was advanced, far beyond anything he had ever seen, but Earth's engineers had trained him well. He found what he was looking for, a control node that linked the fleet's communication and targeting systems. With a few keystrokes, he began to disrupt the network, sending false commands and conflicting orders to the alien ships. He watched as their fleet's formation broke down even further, ships colliding with one another, some firing on their own allies in the confusion. Back on Earth, Admiral Carson noticed the change almost immediately. "What the hell?" he muttered, watching as the alien ships began to falter even more. "What's happening out there?" Singh, standing beside him, grinned. "That's our champion," she said. "He's throwing them into chaos." Carson nodded, his face grim but determined. "Then let's finish this." As Earth's forces continued their counterattack, the alien fleet found itself in a state of total disarray. Their once coordinated assault had fallen apart, and now they were scrambling just to survive. The champion remained focused, working from within the alien flagship to disrupt their systems. But even as he continued his sabotage, he knew it was only a matter of time before the aliens figured out what was happening. And then, just as he expected, the alarms began to blare. The door to the control room slid open, and a squad of heavily armed alien soldiers rushed in. They had finally realized where the attack was coming from. The champion didn't hesitate. He drew his energy blade and moved into action, his body a blur of motion as he cut through the first wave of soldiers. Plasma fire lit up the room, but the champion was too fast, dodging and weaving through the attacks. His blade flashed, and one by one, the soldiers fell. But more were coming. He could hear the sound of reinforcements gathering in the hallways outside. "This isn't going to be easy," he muttered to himself. He needed to finish his work, and fast. Moving back to the control console, the champion activated the ship's self-destruct sequence. If he couldn't hold the ship, he would make sure it couldn't be used against Earth. The countdown began, and the control room was filled with the sound of the ship's warning alarms. With only minutes to spare, the champion made his escape. He fought his way through the alien soldiers, cutting them down as he moved toward the ship's hangar. His transport ship was waiting for him, hovering just outside the ship's hull. He leaped out of the flagship, landing on his transport as the alien ship began to explode behind him. The force of the blast rocked the skies, sending shockwaves through the battlefield. On Earth, the humans watched in awe as the alien flagship was destroyed in a massive explosion, signaling the turning point in the battle. The champion had done it, the heart of the battle. As the alien flagship erupted into flames, the destruction echoed across the battlefield. The humans cheered from their command centers, and Earth's forces surged forward with new vigor, pressing the offensive against the crumbling alien armada. Admiral Carson watched the tactical display as more alien ships lost their formation. He could feel the tide of battle turning, but knew the fight was far from over. The sheer size of the alien fleet was still daunting, and despite the chaos within their ranks, the invaders were not yet defeated. "Don't let your guard down," Carson ordered his officers. "Their numbers are still overwhelming. This is no time to celebrate." Colonel Singh nodded in agreement. "We need to keep applying pressure. We've broken their command structure, but if they regroup, we could be right back where we started." On the battlefield, Earth's fighter squadrons darted through the wreckage of alien vessels, launching attack after attack on the remaining ships. Lieutenant Harper, one of Earth's top fighter pilots, led a squadron deep into enemy territory. Her ship weaved through the chaos, dodging plasma fire from alien gunships as her team targeted weak points in the enemy fleet. "Stick close," Harper shouted over the comms. "We need to hit them where it hurts. Go for their engines and weapons arrays." Her squadron followed her lead, and soon, alien ships began to fall one by one, their once mighty firepower reduced to scattered blasts. Harper's heart raced as she pushed her fighter to the limit, her instincts sharp and her reflexes faster than ever. "They're falling apart," one of her wingmen called out. "We've got them on the ropes." "Not yet," Harper replied, her voice tense. "Keep your focus. There's still plenty of them left." The Behemoth's Wrath. The alien war behemoth advanced with terrifying speed, casting a long shadow over the battlefield. Earth's forces had managed to hold the line against the alien Armada, but this colossal ship was something else entirely. Its sheer size dwarfed everything around it, and its weapons glowed with a menacing light, ready to unleash destruction on a scale that no one had ever seen before. In the human command center, Admiral Carson's face was grim. The tactical display showed the behemoth moving steadily toward Earth, its shields deflecting every attack that Earth's fleet had thrown at it so far. "We can't let that thing reach the surface," Carson said, his voice tense. "If it does, millions will die." Colonel Singh stood by his side, arms crossed, her expression equally serious. "Our fighters are doing everything they can, but it's like trying to stop a mountain with pebbles. We need a new strategy." The champion, standing nearby, studied the display in silence. He knew the time had come for him to act again. His last mission, infiltrating the alien flagship and taking it down from the inside, had been a success, but this time the challenge was even greater. The war behemoth was not just larger, it was more heavily defended and armed with weapons that could annihilate entire cities. "I'll go in," the champion said quietly, his voice cutting through the tension in the room. Carson and Singh both turned to look at him. "You can't be serious," Singh said, shaking her head. "That ship is far more dangerous than the flagship. It's suicide." The champion's expression remained calm. "It's the only way. Our fleet doesn't have the firepower to stop it, but if I can get inside, I can disable its core, just like before." Carson frowned, clearly torn between the logic of the plan and the risk it posed. "You barely made it out of the flagship alive. This thing, it's built for destruction on a scale we've never seen." "I know the risks," the champion replied, "but if we don't stop it now, there won't be a second chance." After a long moment, Carson nodded. "All right. We'll give you the best support we can, but once you're in, you'll be on your own." The champion nodded, accepting the weight of the mission. The battle outside had reached a critical point. Earth's fighter squadrons were swarming around the behemoth, launching everything they had, but the ship's shields were impenetrable. Despite their best efforts, they couldn't even make a dent in the behemoth's armor. Inside her cockpit, Lieutenant Harper gritted her teeth as she dodged another barrage of plasma fire. She'd been leading her squadron in relentless attacks, but nothing was working. "This thing is unstoppable," one of her wingmen shouted over the comms. "Keep at it," Harper replied, her voice steady despite the situation. "We've got to buy the champion time." She knew that Earth's hope rested on the champion's shoulders. They had to keep the behemoth busy long enough for him to get inside and disable it. But with each passing moment, the ship drew closer to Earth, its weapons powering up for a devastating strike. The champion's transport ship darted through the chaos of battle, weaving between wreckage and enemy fire as it closed in on the behemoth. The ship's defenses were formidable, but the champion was focused. His mission was clear. As the transport approached the behemoth's massive hull, the champion activated his stealth systems. His ship vanished from the behemoth's sensors, slipping past its defenses undetected. He flew low, skimming along the surface of the behemoth until he found a weak point, an access hatch in the lower hull, designed for maintenance. With precision and speed, the champion landed his transport and breached the hatch. Inside, the behemoth's interior was a labyrinth of metal corridors, filled with alien soldiers and automated defenses. The champion moved swiftly, avoiding patrols and security systems as he made his way toward the ship's core. Back on Earth, the tension was mounting. The behemoth was now within striking distance of the planet, and its weapons were almost fully charged. If the champion didn't succeed soon, there would be no stopping the ship's assault. Admiral Carson watched the tactical display, his heart pounding. How long until that thing fires? "Less than 10 minutes, one of the officers replied. "We're running out of time." Colonel Singh clenched her fists. "He'll make it. He has to." Deep inside the behemoth, the champion finally reached the central core. The massive reactor hummed with energy, its power feeding the ship's devastating weapons. Alien soldiers guarded the area, but the champion moved with the grace and precision of a shadow. He took them down one by one, silently and efficiently. Reaching the control panel, the champion began to disable the reactor systems. But just as he was about to finish, an alarm blared through the ship. The alien commanders had realized what was happening, and now the ship's defenses were closing in on him. "You're too late," a voice echoed through the chamber. It was General Thrall, the alien leader. His image flickered on a nearby screen. "This ship is unstoppable. Your world will burn." The champion didn't reply. He knew the clock was ticking, but he remained focused. With a final command, he shut down the reactor, plunging the behemoth into darkness. Outside, Earth's forces watched in disbelief as the behemoth's lights flickered and its engines sputtered to a halt. The massive ship, once a symbol of invincible power, now drifted helplessly through space. Cheers erupted in the human command center. Admiral Carson and Colonel Singh exchanged a look of relief, but they knew the battle wasn't over yet. The alien fleet was still out there, and the champion was still inside the behemoth, fighting to escape. The escape. The alien war behemoth drifted lifelessly through space, its terrifying weapons disabled, its engines quiet. The human fleet, battered but victorious, hovered nearby. On Earth, cheers erupted across the globe as the news spread that the planet was safe, for now. But inside the behemoth, deep in its labyrinthine corridors, the champion was far from safe. The shutdown of the reactor had triggered a full-scale lockdown. Security drones patrolled every corner, and the remaining alien soldiers were on high alert. The champion knew his time was running out. Disabling the warship's core had only been the first step. Now he had to get out alive. Admiral Carson stood over the tactical display, eyes fixed on the disabled behemoth. Any word from the champion? "Negative, sir," one of the officers replied. "We've lost contact since he disabled the reactor." Colonel Singh crossed her arms, her expression tense. "We need to get him out of there, Admiral. That ship may be down, but it's still crawling with hostiles. He won't make it if he's on his own." Carson nodded. "Scramble a rescue team. I want our best fighters out there. Bring him home." Inside the behemoth, the champion moved through the shadows, his movements silent and precise. He had memorized the layout of the ship, but with the lockdown in place, every passage was now heavily guarded. He crouched behind a bulkhead, watching as a squad of alien soldiers marched by, their footsteps echoing through the narrow corridor. He couldn't afford to engage them. His mission was to escape, not to fight an entire army. But the longer he stayed, the more dangerous it became. He needed to reach the hangar bay, where his stealth ship was still docked. If he could just make it that far, he'd have a chance. As he crept through the ship, avoiding patrols and drones, his comm device crackled to life. "Champion, this is Lieutenant Harper. We got a rescue team on standby. Give us your location, and we'll get you out." The champion pressed a button on his wrist, opening a secure channel. "I'm heading to the hangar bay. The reactor's down, but the ship's on full lockdown. I'll need cover when I get there." "Roger that," Harper replied. "We'll be ready. Just hang tight." The champion continued to move, his eyes scanning every corner for potential threats. He could hear the hum of drones patrolling nearby, and the occasional sound of alien soldiers communicating through their radios. The tension was suffocating, but the champion's focus never wavered. He had come too far to fail now. In orbit around the behemoth, Harper's squadron of fighters was ready for action. They circled the massive warship, keeping an eye on the alien fleet still looming in the distance. Though the behemoth was disabled, the rest of the alien armada was still a threat, and any wrong move could reignite the battle. "Stay sharp, everyone," Harper said over the comms. "We're not out of the woods yet. The champion's counting on us, and we need to be ready the moment he gives the signal." Her squadron was made up of the best pilots Earth had to offer, and they were all ready to dive into the heart of danger if it meant saving their champion. The champion finally reached the hangar bay. It was heavily guarded, with dozens of alien soldiers stationed around the entrance. His stealth systems had gotten him this far, but they wouldn't last in a direct confrontation. He needed a distraction. He scanned the area, looking for anything he could use. That's when he spotted it, a cargo loader, parked near a stack of fuel cells. With a well-placed shot, he could create an explosion big enough to draw the guards away from the hangar entrance. The champion quietly positioned himself behind a crate, took aim, and fired. The energy bolt hit the loader, and the resulting explosion was immediate and massive. Flames roared through the hangar, and the alien soldiers scrambled to respond, shouting orders as they rushed toward the fire. With the guards distracted, the champion slipped through the chaos and made his way to his ship. He activated the stealth systems and quickly powered up the engines. "Harper, this is the champion. I'm in the ship and ready to go." "Copy that, champion. We're moving in to cover your escape." As the champion's stealth ship lifted off, Harper's squadron swooped in, engaging the alien fighters that had scrambled to respond to the explosion. The space around the behemoth erupted in a fierce dogfight, with Earth's pilots skillfully outmaneuvering their enemies. The champion's ship darted through the battle, avoiding enemy fire with precision. Harper and her squadron provided cover, taking out any alien fighters that got too close. The champion knew he couldn't afford to be detected. If the alien fleet realized he was escaping, they would stop at nothing to destroy him. The tension was palpable as the champion weaved through the debris field, dodging laser fire and navigating the chaotic battlefield. He could see the edge of the conflict zone ahead, where Harper's fighters were holding the line against the alien fleet. Almost there, Harper's voice crackled over the comms. "Just a little further, and we'll have you clear." Back in the human command center, Admiral Carson and Colonel Singh watched the battle unfold on the tactical display. "Come on," Carson muttered under his breath. "Get him out of there." Singh didn't say anything, but her eyes were fixed on the screen, her fists clenched. The fate of Earth's greatest hero hung in the balance, and every second felt like an eternity. With one final burst of speed, the champion's ship broke through the enemy lines and into open space. Harper's squadron pulled back, regrouping to protect the champion as they made their way toward Earth's fleet. "We're clear," Harper announced, her voice filled with relief. "The champion is safe." Cheers erupted across the comms, and back on Earth, the command center filled with applause. Admiral Carson and Colonel Singh exchanged a look of triumph. The mission had been a success. The final showdown. The human fleet, now regrouped and repaired, stood poised for the final battle. The alien Armada had not retreated after the defeat of their behemoth. Instead, they seemed more determined than ever to crush Earth. Their fleet, massive and overwhelming, hovered ominously on the edge of Earth's territory. The galaxy was watching, and the final clash would determine the fate of humanity. In the heart of Earth's command center, Admiral Carson and Colonel Singh prepared their forces. The champion, still recovering from his daring escape, stood with them, his face resolute. "This is it," Carson said, his voice firm. "The final stand." "They're not going to back down," Singh added. "Their pride won't let them. But we're ready." Above Earth's atmosphere, the human fleet arranged itself in a defensive formation. Earth's finest ships, reinforced by new technology and strategy born from the champion's earlier exploits, glinted under the distant starlight. The champion's own ship, now fully repaired, took its place at the front of the formation. It was a symbol of hope for humanity, a reminder that Earth could stand against even the most overwhelming odds. The alien fleet moved into position, their colossal warships blocking out entire sections of space. The tension was thick. both fleets knowing that the next few hours would determine everything. On board the alien command ship, the ambassador stood silently, watching the human fleet. The humans had surprised him at every turn, first with their resilience, then with their ingenuity. And now, they were defying the might of the alien empire itself. This is their last chance to surrender. The alien warlord beside him growled. They are foolish to think they can win. The ambassador, still shaken from his earlier encounter with the champion and the human fleet, hesitated. They are unpredictable, he said cautiously. Do not underestimate them. But the warlord was unmoved. We crush them now, or we lose everything. As the alien fleet began to advance, the human command center buzzed with activity. Screens flickered with tactical data, and officers called out orders as the two armadas inched closer together. The champion, sitting at the helm of his ship, prepared for the fight of his life. They're coming. Colonel Singh's voice came over the comms. This is it. Hold your ground. The human fleet surged forward, meeting the alien ships head-on. The battle began with a flash of energy beams, missile trails, and explosions that lit up the darkness of space. Ships from both sides weaved and dodged, firing everything they had as the skies became a swirling mass of destruction. The champion ship darted through the chaos, avoiding alien fire with the same precision that had saved him in the belly of the behemoth. But this time, he wasn't alone. His fleet was with him, and they were holding their own against the onslaught of alien warships. Champion, this is Harper, his fighter pilot comrade called out over the comms. We're covering your flanks. Let's show these aliens what Earth is made of. He smiled grimly. Let's finish this. As the battle raged, the human fleet employed new tactics, using the weaknesses the champion had uncovered during his infiltration of the alien behemoth. The aliens had underestimated the humans' ability to adapt and learn. Ships that should have been easy targets now outmaneuvered their attackers, and Earth's fleet began to turn the tide. The champion focused on the alien command ship, knowing that cutting off their leadership would cripple the enemy. He powered up his ship's main weapons, targeting the command vessel as he dodged enemy fire. I have the target in sight, the champion said over the comms. Prepare for a direct hit. On the alien command ship, the ambassador watched in disbelief as the human fleet continued to fight back, their tactics more refined than he'd ever seen. He turned to the warlord. We should retreat. We underestimated them again. They found a way to fight back. The warlord's face twisted in rage. No, we destroy them here, or I will die trying. But before the warlord could give the command, the champion ship unleashed a barrage of firepower, hitting the command ship's main engines. The alien warship lurched, its systems faltering. In the human command center, cheers erupted as the tactical screens showed the alien command ship crippled and drifting. Admiral Carson grinned. That's our champion. But the battle wasn't over yet. The alien fleet, though leaderless, was still a threat. The humans pressed their advantage, their ships weaving through the enemy lines, picking off alien vessels one by one. The champion continued his assault, targeting key ships and leading the charge. The alien Armada, now in disarray, began to retreat. One by one, the massive warships turned and fled, leaving behind a field of debris and defeated vessels. Earth's fleet, victorious, let out a collective sigh of relief. The champion's ship returned to the command center, where he was met with applause and admiration. Admiral Carson and Colonel Singh greeted him with pride. You did it, Singh said, her eyes shining. We all did. The champion nodded, though his expression remained serious. They'll be back. Maybe not soon, but they'll remember this day. Carson smiled. And so will we. Earth stood its ground today, thanks to you. As the alien fleet disappeared into the depths of space, the galaxy watched in awe. Earth, once considered an insignificant planet on the edge of the universe, had proven itself capable of standing against one of the most powerful empires in existence. The humans had fought not just with weapons, but with their indomitable spirit and ingenuity. For now, the threat was over, but the champion knew that this was only the beginning of humanity's story in the stars.